is the place where real dialogue matters.
Make some noise for that sound, man.
It is time to take flight with Audio Airstrike.
That's the sound of me lifting off.
Now, here's your host, Everett Hall-McNeill.
This is Audio Airstrike. I'm your host, Everett Hall-McNeill. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 120. Thank you for joining us. Those of you who are listening to this, we will not have a video portion, but I will put the full audio of this episode on our YouTube page and mix it in with images so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Also, I want to make it known that Audio Airstrike will be shifting to promote more community content. I know a lot of the stuff that we do is talking about pop culture, but I will be making a shift to add in more community content, which means we will be highlighting those who are working in the community to promote change and also helping others become better versions of themselves by bringing people in that could give proper advice. I've done that on a consistent basis here and there, but I want to kind of pump that up more. We will still touch on pop culture topics in the unique way that we do, but I also want to implement that more. So we might as well get started. I will be riding solo for this episode, so the only voice that you will be hearing is of me. One of the things that I wanted to touch on and looking at everything that has been going on, there's a couple of things that have mind-boggled me a little bit, and I wanted to wait until I had my thoughts together looking at the whole entire situation. I didn't want to say things out of emotion. I didn't want to say things out of following a trend. I wanted to come on here and give a very therapeutic message to everybody that's involved with this particular situation. I know that everybody was upset about the Gayle King situation in terms of her disrespecting the legacy of Kobe Bryant. We all know what happened. We all know what the response was. We all heard about Snoop's response. He apologized for calling her out of her name. Now, with that being said, I have a responsibility with this platform and the topics that I pick and who I bring on the show. And I have to do a lot of vetting because not all topics are good topics, I should say, rather. And I have to do vetting. I have to sit back and make sure that what we put on this platform is within the best interest of everybody. Is it going to help people? Is it going to further the conversation forward, or are we just being divisive in our thought? Are we being just nothing more than a part of the machine that wants to divide people even more? Recently, I made a decision to make sure that certain topics are put in a certain way so that it can be forward-thinking conversations. Now, if I can sit over here and take a moment to step back and make sure that I'm doing this properly out of the respect of those of different people from different nationalities, different background, different sexual orientation, regardless if I agree with everybody's lifestyle or not, I will take a step back and reassess and make sure that I am putting out content that is going to help and further conversations rather than divide people. Gayle King has a much bigger platform, but she is also at the mercy of the network to a point. I am not trying to minimize the error of her ways. CBS made a decision to put out that segment of a clip Gayle King made a decision to carry out that thought, which she, from what I've heard, has apologized for. And Snoop, grieving over the loss of his friend, somebody who he considers a brother, said what he said and later apologized for calling Gayle King out of her name. Here's a couple of things. When it comes to people being a journalist and trying to be a talking head of some sort, I don't care if you're a radio personality, a news reporter, a sportscaster, anything, whatever fancy name you want to give yourself, you have a responsibility to sit back, make sure that everything that you are saying is accurate, as you're supposed to do. Does everybody do that in this day and age? No. Everybody was focused on what is going to get me clicks, what is going to get me more money. I don't care if this person has not, I don't care if this person has not been put in the ground yet, has not been given the proper burial. I'm just going to take a crap on his name by bringing up his past ailments that he amended for. And the trend just happens to be black men. I could get into a whole hodgepodge about that, but I will move forward. The disturbing thing about that whole situation, this brother who was an impact not to just his family, not to just those that played with him, but had an impact on the world. For any personality or any public figure or any clout chaser that is looking to get clicks, that decides that they want to take a crap on this man's legacy after his untimely passing and tragic death, you really need to reassess who you are as a human being. Or can you even call yourself a human being? Because morally, ethically, if you cannot make a right decision and be like, okay, maybe we shouldn't touch on this particular question considering this dude just passed. If you don't have a second thought about that, I question your humanity. I question your intent. I question your decision making. I question who you are as a person. I look back over that situation. I look back over what Gayle King did. I look back over what CBS did. And I look at how hurt Snoop was and what caused him to say what he said. And this is why we need to be careful as to what message we put out there. It's a domino effect. Gayle King and CBS made a chess move to slander Kobe Bryant, who is not even here to defend himself. Rest in peace to the greatest Laker of all time, Kobe Bryant. And there are some other people who get on comments, who get in DMs, and want to be a cloud chaser and slander this man's name. I question your humanity too. The difference between you and Gayle King is in the spotlight. Gayle King has a camera in front of her. You afraid to come outside and want to be a keyboard warrior about it. That's the difference between Gayle King and those people that have decided to do the same thing that she did. Now, in regards to Snoop, I saw a preview that he was going to be on Red Table Talk. And the clip, based on what I looked at, seemed to be Jada Pinkett taking offense, partly, to what he said towards Gayle. So here's my thoughts. Why let me say it this way. I have questions more than I have thoughts with this particular with Jada Pinkett Smith and her kind of inviting Snoop on the show. The questions that I have with this particular broadcast is, why not invite Gayle to talk about what happened? Why should Snoop go on the show if he already apologized? These are questions. I'm not coming at anybody wrong. I just have questions. I have a series of questions. Why is Snoop still being put on trial after standing up as a man and saying, look, I apologize about this. It was wrong for me to call Gayle King out of her name, and she accepted it. So why put him on public forum? And I'll sit back and I'll watch the whole thing just to make sure there isn't something going on. But it's almost like it seems like to me that this looks like he could be on the trial or guilty on the court of public opinion. And I'm sitting over here looking at this and I'm saying, has anybody, I saw, I saw, Oprah upset that people were coming to Gayle wrong. What people need to realize, and everybody involved, is that there is a family hurting. And that is the family of Kobe Bryant. And nobody is taking into account the hurt, the pain, outside of close friends and family of Kobe Bryant and that circle. I think that a lot of people that are just looking for a headline or doing different things are not really taking into account that this family is suffering. So the slander, bringing up a case from 2003 where his innocence was proven, that is deplorable. As much as a couple people want to feel sorry for Gayle and how there's been death threats thrown at her, there is a family still grieving, and we need to have the highest respect for that. I'm never going to advocate somebody sending death threats to somebody, but my goodness. Like, no compassion for the family at all. That's the biggest thing. I'm watching personalities that I have respected for years, like, not really understand, like, hey, a family is grieving over here, and not just that family, the families of the other victims that were on the helicopter plane crash. So if you want to promote healing, then let's do that. But don't mix it with messiness. If we have a platform, and I don't care what platform it is, I don't care how big the fan base is, I don't care how large or small the platform may come off to be. If you are running a platform, ethics and morals have to have a standard. It has to be a high standard. We can't play these little games where we crucify some people but give some people a pass, or we do this, we do that. Like, everybody wants to be in a shade of gray when the situation may affect them. And I don't understand, and I do understand because some people are selfish. However, I don't think that's the right way to go. This just breeds negativity. Should Gayle King be reprimanded for what she did? She was. Snoop apologized, stood up as a man. I don't know why. I don't know why I will be tuning in. I don't know why he's showing up on Red Table Talk, because it looked like they're just putting him up there for the court of public opinion. It seems like everybody that does something lately, it seems like some people that do something questionable or wrong or something like that, it's like they got to make a second apology on Red Table Talk all of a sudden. And I'm not coming at them. It's a good show. A heck of a job. Jada's doing a heck of a job on that show with her daughter and her mother. But lately I've kind of noticed that trend. When people do certain things, it's like they end up on that show, which is kind of interesting to me. And if we're with these other people's platforms, I just want us moving forward to take into account, at what cost is it worth clicks and headlines and being divisive and talking about people who aren't even here and desecrating their name? And I mean, at what point does the negative wheel stop and we really get down to thinking about the other person, really get about down to, well, out of respect for him and his family, out of respect for her and her family, let me not desecrate their name because they are not here to defend themselves. It seems like we got far removed for that, where instead of worrying about being accurate and being fair and being right, we just want to be first, and if it causes uproar, so be it. That's more clicks. That's more clicks for us. That ain't the way you're gonna win. In the short-term game, that'll work. Long-term, people see through stuff. I hope that there is healing on Snoop's end. I hope there's reconciliation on all parties involved, which I think that there is. But at some point, I feel like, especially in American culture, we tend to want to, if somebody does something wrong, depending on what that is, we want to shine a spotlight on that person and remind them they did this. In the court of public opinion, you are always going to be guilty over something you did in the past, and they will use that to determine who you are in the present and, in some cases, who you are in the future. That is what American culture has become. And when you look at overseas, and we look at some of these other countries that take the time to rehabilitate those who went on the wrong side of the tracks, I can't say wholeheartedly that America does the same thing. I can't say that. I can't say that wholeheartedly. I can't say that when I've seen what I've seen the past couple of weeks. I can't say that when I've turned around and I've watched people get really, really in this negative wheelhouse. It's sad to me. It's very sad to me. Integrity has gone completely out the window. For example, the Houston Astros. They haven't been stripped of their title yet. So you mean to tell me that all the antics, all of the problems, and they're going to get a slap on the wrist? Do you guys hear what I'm saying? The Houston Astros out here cheating. For what? One with the title so bad that that's what you resort to? So I want to read this, and this is from Wikipedia. over the details of what some of the people have been saying about the Astros and also the details on that. For years, other MLB teams have suspected the Astros of stealing signs. Details about the team's activities were first publicly reported by journalists Ken Rosenthal and Evan Dralick for The Athletic in November of 2019. Astros players and team staffers watching the live camera feed behind the dugout would then signal their batter what kind of pitch was coming. The MLB opened an investigation into the allegations and in January 2020 confirmed that the Astros illicitly used a camera system to steal signs during the 2017 regular season and postseason, during which they won the World Series. Like I said, integrity out the window. No sense of integrity, no sense of honor, no sense of decency, and I don't even know why they are still have a world title. Strip it away and give it to the runner-up. Straight up. If you can't win fair, if you can't be fair and impartial, if you gotta stoop that low because deep down your confidence hurts that you can't beat another team, that you gotta turn around and use manipulative ways to get your way into winning at any cost. Sometimes winning at any cost isn't winning. Let that sink in for a second. You gotta win that way. You're not really winning at all, because sooner or later somebody's going to find out. Sooner or later, especially in this era of social media. You mean to tell me that you use the camera system to facilitate stealing signs so that you knew what pitch was coming? In the social media digital age, you really thought nobody's going to say nothing? Nothing? Nothing. It doesn't make any sense. You really thought you were going to get away with it? Do you know how many people are in these baseball organizations? Do you know how many camera feeds there are? Do you know how fast word gets around? This ain't word of mouth. This is social media. How pathetic and stupid can they be as an organization? It doesn't make any sense at all. They should, let me tell you something. If they, and I'm wondering, and I will be keeping up on this wholeheartedly, if they ever get stripped of their world title, which I hope happens, they need to be held accountable. And they need to be disciplined as strictly as possible. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I've seen a lot of signs of lack of integrity. But one of the things that I wanted to touch on is what happens when you learn from the lack of integrity that you have. What happens when you learn from the mistakes? This past week, Deontay Wilder lost to Tyson Fury. And I heard people talking. He's not a real boxer. He's just a hard puncher, this and that. And that fight this past Saturday proved it. Hats off to Tyson Fury, because he is pound for pound the best heavyweight in the world right now, and is stellar at what he does. That's why he's the number one guy. But the constant See, here's what we like to do in America. We will praise the winner, but we have more fun kicking the loser while he's down. You don't believe me? Watch enough sports shows and you'll see what I'm talking about. So Deontay Wilder loses badly. Tyson Fury is picking at him, picking him apart, this and that. And something that several people, like if you're like me and you don't know the in and outs of boxing, you would be more shocked than the person who knows the in and outs of boxing. The reality is this. In life, you either going to win or you're going to learn. People have to change their mindset. And I know people are going to look at me like, oh, come on, Everett. You digging in too deep here. But I'm going to say it. To the outside world, this looks like an L for Deontay Wilder. To him, he should take it as a learning lesson. To him, he should take it as, now I know what I need to do to be better. Now I know now I need to figure out, okay, how do I prepare differently so this never happens to me again? Was it really a loss for him? Did it stop his cash flow? Did it stop his livelihood? No. People are still going to want to see him fight. He still is a major name. He still makes a decent ton of money. And he's a cash cow. People want to see him fight. His one loss to Tyson Fury does not negate all that. It's very interesting to me. We love somebody when they're successful, when they're sitting there knocking people's heads off left and right. But boy, when they go through a downtime, quickly do people, fans, co-workers, sports analysts, boy, do they turn the other cheek real quick. Boy, do they turn their back on you real quick. Boy, do they sit over here and want to put you on a cross and crucify you real quick. This is part of the reason why I take what certain analysts say with a grain of salt sometimes. Because their mood changes so quickly and everybody hops on a certain bandwagon train. Here's what's not going to surprise me. A lot of the people that were on the Deontay Wilder bandwagon and talking about his greatness, talking about his punch of power and this and that. And then to see these people, even though they're accurately telling you what is going on to a point, depending on where you're getting your source from, to see these people side right him off, it's ridiculous. It's very ridiculous. I've always said this. You will know who's in your corner, not when your hands are raised and confetti's falling and you won the title or the chip. You will know who's really for you when you take a L, when you're going through a learning season, when the sun isn't shining so bright, you're going through a rough time. You will know who's for you when you're not in the room and your name is mentioned. Deontay Wilder is going through that right now. That is my educated guess. It's easy to sit over there and praise somebody. It's easy to sit over there and look at somebody while they're on top, like he was, while they're in the winning season, like he was, and ride with them. But now what are you going to do where he got beat that bad in front of the world? Are you going to be as supportive? Some will, some won't. The ones that aren't going to be supportive of him, he's better off without them anyway. I wanted to touch on this, and that is, I noticed that there's some trend going on. Not a trend that's going on, but I there's something that was really bothering me from a social standpoint, and that is I wanted to talk about spousal abuse. I wanted to talk about abuse in general, because I feel like in a lot of aspects that abuse is abuse, and I don't care what your background is, who you were raised, who raised you, if you're male, female, I don't care. Abuse is abuse. About a few weeks ago, there was an article that came out where Amber Heard admitted that she was abusive towards Johnny Depp. Nobody batted an eye. But months earlier, there were reports that Johnny Depp was being abusive to Amber Heard, and everybody was in an uphill. So, pretty much, it's an abusive relationship. Both people are not innocent based on what I've read. But because Amber Heard is a female, we're just supposed to we champion around her. This topic is struggling for me, because I look at it this way: abuse is abuse. A man abusing a woman is just as wrong as a woman abusing a man. That's how I feel about it. So to see her admit it and nobody really picking up the story, because the general consensus is that based on the vibe and the behavior that I've seen in American culture, that abused victims that are men, and I'm not talking about just some hodgepodge. I'm not sitting over here trying to be some kind of male chauvinist, but this is a thing. A man that goes through an abusive relationship is nowhere near taken seriously as a woman going through an abusive relationship. If a man is getting smacked in public by a female, people ignoring her. I'll put it to you like this, right? I was on Facebook and I saw this experiment. The experiment was a woman abusing this guy to see what attention would happen. A social experiment. Woman sitting over there smacking him. These are two paid actors, by the way. So the woman sitting there smacking him, and this and that. The very moment that he grabbed her, there was 3 people around trying to get the guy off her. So she slapped this guy. Keep in mind, these were 2 actors. They were doing a social experiment. But that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes. That speaks hella volumes. We literally, in this country, don't take into account abuse, and that men are victims too in this case. Abuse is abuse. I am against abuse. I don't care who does it to who. Abuse is abuse. Sexual abuse, domestic abuse, all types of abuse, I can't stand it. I don't stand for it. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care what your background is. Abuse is abuse. It's toxic, it's dangerous, and it should never be done. But we have to take abuse seriously for everybody, not just one particular group of a type of people. It can't be just women. You got to keep that same energy. I don't care if it's men. I don't care if it's transgender. Whatever gender you want to use. If they're getting abused, it's wrong. We can't sit over here and, turn the blind eye to these things that are going on. If a guy is getting abused by his woman, we turn a blind eye? Seriously? And you wonder why most men feel like they're alone. Most men don't want to open about their feelings. Most men sit over there and struggle with depression. Most men struggle with their mental health because of stuff like this. And then you wonder why you're seeing the results of this because of a situation like this. You're not giving men a platform to speak up and talk about these things. You either laughing them out the room or you're ignoring them. For what? What good does that do? What good does that help somebody? If people are going to stand for women and women's rights, I'm all for that. I was raised by two women. And that's definitely something that is positive, and I do appreciate women coming together and sticking up for each other. However, men don't get that same support. We don't. You don't get random men supporting random men the way that random women support random women when it comes to abuse. You don't get that at all. So we can't sit over here and allow this to keep continuing. Otherwise, it's going to get worse. So, what are the next steps? How can we bridge the conversation when it comes to abuse and also having a dialect where we're not trying to tear each other down, but we are trying to get down to enlightenment on men and men that deal with abuse and the protocol to have men feel comfortable to open up so that way that can be healed to a point. Because let me tell you something, a man will self-destruct. Not because somebody beat him up, not because somebody beat him up or something that's outwardly. He will destruct from within first because he can't get his emotions out. Women, you have a strong support system when it comes to spousal abuse, when it comes to sexual abuse, when it comes to any type of abuse that you want to mention. Men need that same thing. This is a serious issue. We were taught for years to hold our emotions in, and it is killing us. Men were, for the longest time, taught not to cry. And it killed some people. Because they weren't able to get their emotions out. You bottle that in, and it's going to kill you inwardly. This got to stop. We got to have a stronger support system for the men around here, especially during these months where it's colder out. I'm an East Coast dude. I'm not somewhere where it's warm all the time. That weather will have an effect on your mental health. It's very crucial. It's very crucial. I'm not trying to preach y'all to death, but I'm just saying, please give the men around here the same support for these things because they need it. It's very crucial, people. It's very crucial. It's very crucial. The last topic I want to touch on is we have lost another talented young brother, Pop Smoke. Look, I get tired of saying this, but at what point are y'all going to realize if you are an artist, please, especially hip-hop artists, please stop dabbling into street stuff still and you are becoming mainstream or on the way to becoming mainstream. It's not worth it. It really is not worth it. And I'm not trying to even mention street stuff. However, if you are still living that life on the verge of being mainstream, you will get caught up like this. I don't know all the details, but I find it very strange that this dude is 23 years old, was at the point where he was transitioning to becoming a mainstream hip hop act and really getting the feet. He was really on a momentum wave. The fan base was there. The visuals were there. The music was there. People were coming out to see him. And then this happens. I don't follow his music that well. But one thing I know is this. Somebody's potential was cut short. Who knows where he could have grown? Who knows what he could have done? And what sucks about this most is that since the Nipsey issue and then this comes up, I feel like we're chipping. I feel like the sensitivity to these things is literally being scratched away. Like we're becoming desensitized to this almost. Oh, another rapper got killed. That's what it feels like, but it shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't. It's scary when you think about it. Like, how am I becoming so desensitized to the loss of life? I shouldn't be that desensitized to it. But the elements involved being a rapper, up and coming, arguably, allegedly, maybe still into certain things. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not going to speak ill will of the dead, stuff that I don't know. But if people around him were into it and he was that, to make him that close to it, that it could be another caveat to it. Who knows? We really have to get in tune and pay attention to these things, man. You really have to watch the company that you keep. They just roll up into the house, raid the house, and shoot them in L.A., what type of stuff is that? It ain't worth. It's not worth living. It's not worth living if you got to look over your shoulder every 5 seconds. It's really like you're literally living in a web of paranoia. I really, my heart goes out to the family. My heart goes out to everybody that was a close friend of him. My heart goes out to his fans that liked his music. But my gosh, man, I mean, if you're making that transition, and I don't care what genre it is, to being a mainstream artist, maybe it's time to check your circle a little bit more, because not everybody, people see that, some people become envious, some people don't know how to react, some people don't know how to carry themselves, and some people just want to watch your whole world burn the second they see you get a whole amount of success. You have to watch the company you keep. You have to pay attention more deeply. Especially if you are on the verge of being one of the hottest dudes in the rap game like Pop Smoke was. It's very sad. We really got to start, really doing stuff with more integrity? How is it that we had Valentine's Day just pass away? Not pass away, but it came and went, and people still deciding. A day where love is in the air, and I know that's couples and stuff like that, but the day signifying love, and then all this stuff is happening with in between the Valentine's Day holiday, and now here we are in late February. How is that helping? It's very sad, man. You know what I mean? And we really have to hold ourselves accountable to be better people. We really have to hold ourselves accountable to really understand what happens when we need to think twice. Is what we need to do. Think twice. Before you say something, think twice. Before you do something, think twice. Ask yourself, is this the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do? Ask yourself, what type of person am I dealing with here? Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Question a lot of things so you can get proper. If you question everything, I guarantee you'll get knowledge. If you don't, I don't need to say anything else. This has been another edition of Audio Airstrike. I appreciate you guys for listening. Check in with us. Check in with me mainly. I'll have occasional guests on from time to time, but I thank you for listening. I'm just pouring out my heart. I didn't have a script for this. I kind of wanted to get this out because I felt like it needed to be said. So I want to thank you guys for bearing with me and hearing me out. And feel free to share your thoughts about this episode in the comments on SoundCloud or YouTube so we can have a discussion more deeper. And I know that I host this show, but I have no problem learning from other people and also getting perspective. So I'm always open towards that. Well, this has been another edition of Audio Airstrike. Until next time, everybody, y'all take care. Have a good one.